Why no one is your real friend? Stop expecting loyalty. There is a painful truth that most people learn only after being disappointed again and again. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. Not everyone who talks to you every day cares about your future. Not everyone who says, "I've got your back," will actually stand beside you when life becomes difficult. And sometimes, the people you trust the most are the people who teach you the hardest lessons. This is where you need to understand something about human nature. People are not always loyal because they love you. Sometimes they are loyal because you are useful to them. Sometimes they are loyal because you make them feel important. Sometimes they are loyal because you provide attention, entertainment, emotional support, money, connections, or comfort. And when that benefit disappears, their behavior can change. This does not mean everyone is fake. It does not mean you should become bitter. It does not mean you should stop trusting people completely. But it does mean you should stop expecting loyalty from everyone simply because you have been loyal to them. That expectation can destroy your peace. You may think, "I would never do this to them, so they would never do it to me." But that is a dangerous assumption. You are judging another person's behavior through your own character, and people do not always think the way you think. You may value loyalty. Someone else may value convenience. You may value honesty. Someone else may value advantage. You may remember everything you have done for them. They may remember only what you can do for them next. This is one of the most difficult lessons in understanding human psychology. People often act according to their interests, emotions, insecurities, ambitions, and circumstances. And if you fail to understand this, you will constantly be disappointed. You will keep asking yourself, why did they change? Why did they leave? Why did they betray me? Or why did they stop caring? Sometimes the answer is simple. They were never as committed to the relationship as you were, and accepting that truth is painful, but it is also freeing. Because once you stop expecting everyone to behave according to your standards, you stop giving other people's behavior the power to destroy your emotional stability. You begin to observe instead of assuming. You begin to watch actions instead of listening only to words. You begin to understand that friendship is not proven by how someone behaves when everything is easy. It is revealed when circumstances change, when you have nothing to offer, when you stop entertaining them, when you disagree with them, when you become successful, when you become stronger, when you set boundaries, when you say no. Watch what happens then, because sometimes the moment you stop being useful is the moment you discover who actually valued you. And this is not a reason to become cold. It is a reason to become conscious. You can still love people. You can still appreciate friendship. You can still trust. But trust should be built through evidence. Not imagination, not promises, not words, actions. Always watch the pattern. One nice conversation proves very little. One promise proves very little. One emotional speech proves very little. But consistent behavior over time tells you much more. A person who respects you consistently is showing you something. A person who disappears whenever you need them is showing you something. A person who celebrates your success without jealousy is showing you something. A person who constantly competes with you while pretending to support you is showing you something. A person who only contacts you when they need something is showing you something. You do not need to accuse them. You do not need to confront them. You do not need to create unnecessary drama. Simply observe. Because one of the greatest forms of emotional intelligence is learning to see people clearly without becoming consumed by what you see. Stop trying to force people into the role you want them to play. If someone shows you that they are unreliable, believe the pattern. If someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, believe the pattern. If someone constantly disappears when you need support, believe the pattern. And if someone consistently shows up, supports you, respects you, and wants to see you grow, appreciate that person. Real friendship is rare. That is exactly why you should value it when you find it. But you should never confuse familiarity with loyalty. Someone can know you for 10 years and still not truly understand you. Someone can talk to you every day and still not care about your growth. And someone you met recently can sometimes show more genuine character than someone you have known for years. Time alone does not prove loyalty. Consistency does. Character does. Actions do. So stop asking, why isn't everyone loyal to me? Ask a better question. Why did I expect loyalty from someone who never demonstrated it? That question changes everything. Because the moment you take responsibility for your expectations, you regain control of your emotions. You stop begging people to stay. You stop chasing people who have already chosen distance. You stop trying to convince someone to appreciate your value. And you start becoming selective about who receives your trust. This is not loneliness. This is maturity. You are not supposed to have access to everyone. And not everyone deserves access to you. Your time is valuable. Your attention is valuable. Your trust is valuable. Your emotional energy is valuable. Do not give these things away simply because someone is friendly with you. Learn to distinguish between people who enjoy your presence and people who genuinely value your existence. There is a difference. And once you understand that difference, you will stop expecting everyone to be your real friend. You will stop demanding loyalty. You will stop chasing approval. And you will start watching what people consistently do. Because in the end, words can create an impression, but patterns reveal the truth. One of the biggest mistakes you can make in relationships is confusing attention with loyalty. Someone can text you every day and still not care about you deeply. Someone can laugh with you, spend time with you, share personal stories with you, and still walk away the moment the relationship becomes inconvenient. Why? Because attention is easy. Loyalty is expensive. Attention requires very little sacrifice. Loyalty requires consistency. Attention can disappear when circumstances change. Loyalty becomes visible precisely when circumstances become difficult. This is why you should stop judging relationships only by how people treat you when everything is going well. Anyone can be a good friend when there is nothing to lose. The real test comes when there is pressure. Maybe you disagree with them. Maybe you stop giving them constant attention. Maybe you become more successful than they are. Maybe you establish a boundary they do not like. Maybe you can no longer provide the same benefits you once provided. Watch their behavior. Do they still respect you? Do they still communicate honestly? Do they still want the best for you? Or does their attitude suddenly change? This is where human psychology becomes important. People often reveal their real priorities when their interests come into conflict with yours. A person may support you as long as your success does not threaten their position. They may celebrate your achievements as long as they still feel superior. They may call themselves your friend as long as you remain available whenever they need you. But when your growth changes the balance between you, their true feelings may begin to appear. And this can be painful because sometimes your success does not attract everyone closer. Sometimes it reveals who is secretly competing with you. Do not be surprised when some people become distant after you start improving your life. Or do not immediately assume you did something wrong. Sometimes your growth changes the relationship. The version of you they were comfortable with may no longer exist. Maybe they were comfortable when you were insecure. Maybe they were comfortable when you needed their approval. Maybe they were comfortable when you were always available. But when you become confident, disciplined, independent, and focused, the relationship can change. And this is where you must resist the temptation to shrink yourself just to keep someone comfortable. Never sabotage your growth to preserve a relationship. A genuine friend should not need you to remain weak so they can feel strong. A genuine friend can watch you grow without turning your success into a personal competition. They can celebrate your progress without asking how they can benefit from it. They can disagree with you without trying to destroy you. They can tell you the truth without humiliating you. And they can respect your boundaries even when those boundaries make things less convenient for them. That is a much better definition of friendship than simply talking every day. Because real friendship is not measured by frequency. It is measured by character. You also need to understand another uncomfortable truth. Sometimes people do not betray you because they are evil. Sometimes they betray you because they are weak. They may be afraid. They may be insecure. They may be selfish. They may be emotionally immature. They may simply prioritize themselves when pressure arrives. Understanding this does not mean excusing their behavior. It means you stop taking every betrayal personally. Not every disappointment is proof that you are unworthy of friendship. Sometimes it is simply information. Someone showed you who they are. Now you have information you did not have before. Use it wisely. Do not waste months trying to understand why someone treated you badly. Look at what happened. Look at the pattern. Then decide what level of access that person should have in your life. You do not have to hate them. You do not have to expose them. You do not have to make a public announcement that you are cutting them off. Sometimes the strongest response is simply reducing access. Less information, less emotional investment, less availability, less expectation, more distance, more observation, more focus on yourself. This is how you protect your peace without becoming bitter. Because bitterness is another form of attachment. If you constantly think about the person who betrayed you, they still control your attention. If you constantly try to prove that you no longer care, you still care. If you constantly talk about how fake they are, you are still giving them space in your mind. Let the lesson be enough. You do not need revenge. You need clarity, and clarity allows you to move forward. Real emotional strength is being able to say, I trusted this person and they disappointed me. I learned something. I will adjust my boundaries and I will continue. No drama, no obsession, no endless explanations, just growth. Because the purpose of understanding human behavior is not to become suspicious of everyone, it is to become more selective. There is a difference between being paranoid and being observant. Paranoia assumes everyone is against you. Wisdom simply watches. Wisdom does not accuse without evidence. Wisdom does not blindly trust without evidence either. It waits, it observes, it compares words with actions, and then it makes a decision. That is the kind of mindset you need if you want healthier relationships. Do not demand loyalty. Look for evidence of it. Do not demand respect. Watch whether someone consistently behaves respectfully. Do not demand honesty. Pay attention to whether their words and actions match. Do not demand friendship. Observe whether the relationship survives beyond convenience. Because the people who truly belong in your life will not need constant pressure to prove themselves. Their consistency will speak for them. And that is exactly what you should learn to recognize. One of the most dangerous mistakes you can make is expecting people to give you the same loyalty that you give them. You think, I would never betray this person. So you assume they think the same way. But that is not how human nature works. Your character is not automatically someone else's character. Your values are not automatically someone else's values. And your standards should never become an excuse for ignoring reality. This is why you must learn to separate what you believe from what you observe. You can be loyal without being naive. You can trust people without giving them unlimited access to your life. You can care about someone without depending on them emotionally. And you can forgive someone without allowing them to repeat the same behavior. That distinction is extremely important because many people confuse forgiveness with trust. They think that if they forgive someone, they must immediately return the relationship to exactly how it was before. No, forgiveness can give you peace. Trust must be rebuilt through behavior. If someone breaks your trust, they may apologize. Listen to the apology, but then watch what happens next. Do their actions change? Do they become more honest? Do they respect your boundaries? Do they take responsibility without constantly making excuses? Because an apology without changed behavior is simply another promise. And promises are easy. Consistency is difficult. This is why Robert Greene's ideas about human behavior can be useful when thinking about relationships. People often reveal themselves indirectly. Watch how someone talks about people who are not present. If they constantly betray other people's secrets, eventually they may betray yours. If they constantly mock their friends behind their backs, do not assume you will be the exception. If they are always blaming everyone else for their problems, pay attention. If they cannot accept criticism, eventually they may turn against you when you disagree with them. People leave clues everywhere. The mistake is that we often ignore those clues because we want the relationship to work. We see what we hope is true instead of what is actually happening. We say, maybe they will change. Maybe. But you should make decisions based on patterns, not potential. Potential is not character. Promises are not character. Charm is not character. Character is what remains when there is something to lose. Think about that. How does someone behave when nobody is watching? How do they behave when they are angry? How do they behave when they have power? How do they behave when they do not need you? How do they behave when you say no? How do they behave when you succeed? These moments reveal much more than casual conversations ever will. A person who respects you only when they need you does not respect you. They value your usefulness, and there is a difference. You need to learn that difference, because if you confuse usefulness with friendship, you will constantly feel betrayed. You will think people changed, but perhaps they simply stopped receiving the benefit that kept them close. That is why you should never build your entire emotional world around one person, not one friend, not one relationship, not one social group, not one source of approval. Build your own foundation, have your own goals, develop your own skills, protect your own peace. Create a life that does not collapse when one person walks away. This does not mean becoming emotionally detached from everyone. It means becoming emotionally secure within yourself. When you are secure, you can appreciate people without desperately needing them. You can enjoy friendship without fearing its loss every day. You can love someone without losing your identity. You can walk away from disrespect without feeling like your entire world has ended. That is freedom. And sometimes the greatest sign that you have matured is not that you have more friends. It is that you no longer need a crowd to feel valuable. You become comfortable with your own company. You become selective. You stop explaining yourself to everyone. You stop trying to fit into every group. You stop chasing people who repeatedly show you that they do not value your presence. And instead, you focus on becoming someone you respect. This is where your standards begin to change. You stop asking, does this person like me? You start asking, is this person good for my life? You stop asking, how can I make them stay? You start asking, do their actions deserve my trust? You stop asking, why did they leave? You start asking, what did this experience teach me? Those questions create a completely different mindset. They move you from emotional dependence to self-awareness, and that is where real strength begins. Remember, you do not need to assume everyone is against you. That mindset will make you miserable. Instead, assume nothing. Observe. Let people earn your trust. Let consistency build closeness. Let actions reveal character. And when someone proves themselves to be genuine, appreciate them deeply. Because real friendship does exist. It is simply rarer than people imagine. The answer is not to stop believing in friendship. The answer is to stop giving the title of friend to everyone who gives you attention. Be selective, be observant, be calm, and most importantly, never betray yourself just because you are afraid someone else might leave. The right people will not require you to abandon your values just to keep them around, and the wrong people leaving your life may eventually become one of the greatest forms of protection you ever received. There is another uncomfortable truth you need to understand about friendship. Sometimes people do not hate you. They simply do not value you as much as you value them. And that difference can hurt more than open hatred. Because when someone hates you, at least you understand where you stand. But when someone acts like your friend while secretly competing with you, using you, or waiting for you to fail, the situation becomes much more complicated. This is why you need to learn how to recognize hidden competition. Not everyone who gives you advice wants you to succeed. Not everyone who asks about your plans is genuinely interested in your growth. Some people want information because they want to compare themselves with you. They want to know how much you earn. They want to know what you are building. They want to know who you are talking to. They want to know what opportunities you have. And sometimes they are not asking because they care. They are measuring themselves against you. This is where you need emotional intelligence. Do not become suspicious of everyone, but do not reveal everything to everyone. Either your plans do not need an audience. Your financial situation does not need an audience. Your weaknesses do not need an audience. Your next move does not need an audience. Privacy is not arrogance. Privacy is protection. There are certain parts of your life that should remain yours. The more you reveal, the more information people have to judge you, influence you, discourage you, or manipulate your decisions. This is especially important when you are working towards something difficult. If you announce your goal to everyone, suddenly everyone has an opinion. One person tells you it will fail, another tells you it is unrealistic, another compares you with someone else, another laughs at your ambition, and eventually you begin questioning yourself. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is work quietly. Let people wonder, let them underestimate you. You do not need to correct them. Because when you are building something important, attention can become a distraction. You need focus, you need consistency, you need patience, and you need the ability to continue working even when nobody is clapping for you. This also applies to friendships. A real friend does not need constant access to every detail of your life. Healthy relationships can survive boundaries. If someone becomes angry because you do not tell them everything, pay attention. If someone demands access to every decision you make, pay attention. If someone becomes offended whenever you prioritize your own goals, pay attention. A genuine friend may not always agree with your choices, but they should respect your right to make them. That is the difference between care and control. Care says, I want what is best for you. Control says, I want you to do what makes me comfortable. And sometimes people disguise control as friendship. They tell you they are protecting you. They tell you they are being honest. They tell you they know what is best. But slowly, you notice that every decision they support is a decision that benefits them. That is when you need to step back. Do not fight. Do not accuse. Simply observe. Because one of the strongest things you can do is remove yourself from emotional confusion. When you are too emotionally attached to someone, you can overlook obvious patterns. You defend their behavior. You make excuses for them. You explain their actions better than they can explain them themselves. You say, they are just stressed. They did not mean it. They are probably going through something. Maybe, but one mistake is different from a pattern. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has bad days. Everyone can say something they regret. The problem begins when the same behavior happens again and again. That is no longer an accident. That is information. And information should change your decisions. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, reduce access. If someone repeatedly lies to you, reduce trust. If someone repeatedly uses you, stop making yourself available. If someone repeatedly undermines your confidence, create distance. You do not need to punish them. You simply need to protect yourself. This is one of the most important lessons about emotional strength. Boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are instructions about how people can treat you, and people who genuinely care about you will eventually learn to respect them. The people who only benefited from having unlimited access to you may become angry. Let them. Their reaction to your boundary tells you something. A healthy person may say, I understand. An unhealthy dynamic may say, you have changed. And sometimes that is true. You have changed, you became more aware, you became more selective. You learned that being available to everyone was costing you your own peace. You learned that saying yes to everyone meant saying no to yourself. And you finally understood that friendship should add value to your life, not constantly drain it. So stop trying to keep everyone close. You do not need a large circle, you need a trustworthy one. And even then, remember that people can change. Relationships can change. Circumstances can change. That is why trust should never be a one-time decision. Keep observing. Keep communicating. Keep your standards. And if someone consistently proves that they deserve your trust, appreciate them. Because the goal is not to become someone who trusts nobody. The goal is to become someone who trusts intelligently. There is a huge difference. A bitter person says, nobody can be trusted. A wise person says, trust must be earned. That mindset protects you without destroying your ability to connect with good people. So do not close your heart. Strengthen your judgment. Do not stop loving people. Stop ignoring patterns. Do not stop believing in friendship. Stop confusing attention with loyalty. And never forget that sometimes the people who leave your life are not taking your happiness with them. They are simply creating space for a healthier version of your life to begin. One of the hardest lessons about friendship is learning that you cannot make someone loyal by being more loyal to them. You can give someone your time. You can support them. You can defend them. You can listen to their problems. You can show up when nobody else does. And still, they may not value you the way you value them. This is where many people make a painful mistake. They keep giving more because they believe eventually the other person will appreciate them. They think, if I am a better friend, they will become a better friend. But relationships do not always work that way. Sometimes giving more only teaches someone that you will always be available, They stop appreciating your effort because your effort has become expected. Your help becomes normal. Your attention becomes normal. Your presence becomes normal. And eventually, the moment you stop giving as much, they accuse you of changing. But perhaps you did not become selfish. Perhaps you simply stopped overextending yourself. There is a difference between being generous and being available for exploitation. A generous person gives because they choose to. A person who is being used gives because they are afraid to say no. Learn the difference. If you constantly say yes because you are afraid someone will leave, that is not loyalty. That is fear. If you constantly tolerate disrespect because you are afraid of being alone, that is not friendship. That is emotional dependence. If you keep forgiving the same behavior without any change, that is not maturity. That is abandoning your own boundaries. You must learn to respect yourself enough to walk away from relationships that repeatedly damage your peace. And walking away does not always mean physically leaving. Sometimes it means emotionally stepping back. You stop explaining yourself, you stop chasing conversations, you stop trying to fix everything, you stop checking whether they are thinking about you, or you stop measuring your worth by their attention, you simply return your focus to your own life. This is where many people become uncomfortable, because they are used to getting their sense of value from other people. They want to know who likes them, who misses them, who respects them, who talks about them, who responds quickly, who views their stories, who invites them, who remembers them. But when your self-worth depends on these things, you become extremely easy to control. Someone can ignore you and change your entire mood. Someone can compliment you and make you feel powerful. Someone can criticize you and destroy your confidence. Someone can leave you and make you question your entire identity. That is too much power to give another human being. Your emotional stability should not depend on someone else's behavior. You can care about people without allowing them to control your emotional state. You can appreciate friendship without needing constant reassurance. You can love someone without begging them to stay. You can miss someone without chasing them. You can forgive someone without trusting them again immediately. This is emotional maturity, and it changes the way you approach relationships. Instead of asking, "How do I keep this person?" you start asking, "Is this relationship healthy for both of us?" Instead of asking, "What can I do to make them value me?" you ask, "Are they already showing me that they value me?" Instead of trying to convince someone that you are a good friend, you let your character speak. Because you should never have to perform for a place in someone's life. The right relationships do not require constant performance. They require honesty, respect, boundaries, consistency, and mutual effort. Notice the word mutual. Friendship cannot survive permanently when only one person carries the relationship. If you are always initiating, always checking in, always apologizing, always helping, always understanding, always forgiving, always making excuses, then eventually you will become exhausted and resentment will grow. This is why you need to stop confusing endurance with loyalty. Loyalty is not staying through unlimited disrespect. Loyalty is supporting someone while maintaining self-respect. You can be loyal and still have boundaries. You can be forgiving and still have standards. You can be kind and still say no. You can care and still walk away. This is not cruelty, it is balance. And once you develop this balance, your relationships become healthier. You stop demanding impossible things from people. You stop expecting everyone to understand you. You stop assuming everyone will stay forever. And you stop treating every ending as a personal failure. Some friendships are meant to last decades. Some last only a few years. Some last only a season. That does not automatically make them meaningless. People can enter your life, teach you something, share experiences with you, and eventually move in a different direction. Not every ending requires hatred. Sometimes people simply grow apart. And maturity means accepting that without destroying yourself emotionally. The biggest mistake is trying to force a relationship back into the shape it had in the past. People change. You change. Your priorities change. Your circumstances change. Your values become clearer. And sometimes the friendship that once fit perfectly no longer fits your life. Let it change. Do not hold on simply because of history. History explains why you cared. It does not guarantee that the relationship still belongs in your future. This is one of the most important lessons you can learn about loyalty. Do not judge people only by how long they have been in your life. Judge them by how they treat you now. Look at the present. Look at the pattern. Look at the respect. Look at the effort. Look at whether you can be yourself around them without constantly fearing judgment or rejection. That is far more important than the number of years you have known someone. And remember something else. You also need to become the kind of friend you wish to have. Do not demand loyalty while being unreliable yourself. Do not demand honesty while hiding the truth. Do not demand respect while disrespecting boundaries. Do not expect people to support your growth if you secretly resent theirs. If you want genuine relationships, develop genuine character. Give people the kind of friendship you hope to receive, but do it without expecting everyone to return it in exactly the same way. Give because it reflects who you are, and not because you are trying to purchase someone's loyalty. That is the difference between generosity and manipulation. You cannot buy genuine friendship. You can only build it. And building it takes time, trust, consistency, communication, and mutual respect. So stop trying to make everyone your friend. Stop trying to keep everyone close. Stop trying to earn love through endless giving. Instead, become comfortable with who you are. Develop your own goals. Build your own life. Strengthen your own character. Then allow the right people to meet you there. Because when you no longer need everyone to stay, you become capable of recognizing the people who genuinely choose to. And those are the relationships worth protecting. There is another level of understanding you need if you want to stop being disappointed by people. You must learn to separate friendship from dependency. These two things can look similar from the outside, but psychologically they are completely different. Friendship is a choice. Dependency is a need. When you genuinely choose someone's company, you can appreciate them without fearing their absence. But when you depend on someone emotionally, their behavior begins controlling your mood. If they reply, you feel good. If they ignore you, you feel anxious. If they praise you, you feel valuable. If they criticize you, you question yourself. If they become distant, you immediately wonder what you did wrong. This is not emotional strength. This is giving someone else control over your internal world. And the first step toward breaking that pattern is learning to become comfortable with yourself. You need a life outside your relationships. You need goals that belong to you. You need interests that belong to you. You need ambitions that do not depend on someone else's approval. Because the more complete your own life becomes, the less desperate you become for other people to fill its empty spaces. This is why self-respect is so important. When you respect yourself, you stop begging people for basic consideration. You stop chasing conversations that only move in one direction. You stop repeatedly asking someone why they have changed. You stop trying to convince people that you deserve their loyalty. You observe, and then you make decisions. Sometimes that decision is to communicate. Sometimes it is to create distance. Sometimes it is to walk away. But the important thing is that the decision comes from clarity rather than desperation. You should never make a permanent decision while experiencing temporary emotional pain. Give yourself time. When someone disappoints you, do not immediately destroy the entire relationship. Take a step back. Let your emotions settle. Then look at the situation objectively. Was this one mistake? Was it a misunderstanding? Was the person under unusual pressure? Or has this been happening repeatedly? That distinction matters, because emotional people often judge individuals based on one moment. Strategic people look for patterns. One bad day does not define a person, but repeated behavior reveals character. If someone makes a mistake and takes responsibility, that tells you something. If someone makes the same mistake repeatedly and blames everyone else, that tells you something too. If someone hurts you, listens to your concerns, and genuinely changes their behavior, that is different from someone who apologizes only because they fear losing access to you. Pay attention to the difference. Words can be emotional. Actions require effort. That is why actions are usually more reliable. And this principle should change the way you evaluate every relationship in your life. Do not ask only, what does this person say about me? Ask, how does this person behave toward me when there is nothing to gain? That is where the truth becomes clearer. A person who respects you when they need something may simply value your usefulness. A person who respects you when they need nothing from you is showing something deeper. A person who supports you only when you are struggling may be comfortable with your weakness. A person who supports you when you become successful may genuinely want to see you grow. And sometimes success becomes the ultimate test of friendship. Failure can attract sympathy. Success can reveal insecurity. When you begin improving your life, pay attention to how people respond. Do they celebrate you? Do they encourage you? Do they ask questions because they are genuinely interested? Or do they minimize your achievements? Do they make sarcastic comments? Do they constantly compare themselves with you? Do they suddenly become distant? Do they secretly enjoy your setbacks? These behaviors do not automatically prove someone is a bad person, but they provide information, and information should make you more observant. Never turn observation into paranoia. That is another trap. If you start believing everyone is secretly jealous of you, you will eventually destroy healthy relationships yourself. Not everyone is competing with you. Not everyone wants you to fail. Not everyone who disagrees with you is an enemy. Sometimes a genuine friend will tell you something you do not want to hear. That does not make them disloyal. In fact, honest disagreement can be a sign of respect. A person who always agrees with you may not be your biggest supporter. They may simply be afraid of conflict. A real friend can say, "I think you are making a mistake," and then explain why. They can challenge your thinking without attacking your character. They can disagree without trying to humiliate you. That is valuable. You should not surround yourself with people who simply tell you what you want to hear. You need people who help you see what you cannot see yourself. But there is a difference between constructive criticism and constant negativity. Constructive criticism gives you something useful. Constant negativity simply drains you. One helps you grow. The other makes you question your worth. Learn to recognize the difference, and remember, you are also responsible for the kind of people you allow into your life. If you repeatedly tolerate disrespect, people learn that disrespect is acceptable. If you constantly make excuses for bad behavior, the behavior may continue. If you never communicate your boundaries, people cannot know where your limits are. This is why boundaries are so important. A boundary is not a threat. It is not revenge. It is simply a decision about what you will and will not accept. You can say, "I respect you, but I will not continue this conversation if you insult me. I care about you, but I cannot always be available. I understand your opinion, but I will make my own decision. I forgive you, but I need to see consistent change before trust returns." These statements are not aggressive, they are clear, and clarity is powerful. When people know where you stand, healthy relationships become easier. The wrong people may become uncomfortable. Let them. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to protect your values, your peace, and your direction, because your life is too valuable to spend constantly managing other people's emotions. You cannot make everyone happy. You cannot make everyone stay. You cannot make everyone understand you. And you certainly cannot make everyone loyal. But you can control how much access you give them. You can control your expectations. You can control your response. You can control your standards, and you can control whether you continue investing in relationships that repeatedly give you evidence that they are unhealthy. That is real power, not controlling people, controlling your own decisions. So stop asking everyone to prove that they are your friend. Watch, listen, observe. Give people enough space for their character to reveal itself. And when someone consistently proves that they are genuine, loyal, honest, and supportive, do not take them for granted. Because while fake friendships can teach you painful lessons, genuine friendships can become one of the greatest sources of strength in your life. The goal is not to trust nobody. The goal is to trust wisely. And once you understand that, you stop expecting loyalty from everyone. You simply allow people to earn their place in your life. There comes a point when you must stop asking who is loyal to you and start asking whether you are loyal to yourself. This may be one of the most important lessons you can learn about relationships, because sometimes the person betraying you is not another person. Sometimes it is you. You betray yourself every time you ignore what you already know. You betray yourself when you keep returning to someone who repeatedly disrespects you. You betray yourself when you keep making excuses for behavior that has already become a pattern. You betray yourself when you abandon your goals just to keep someone close. You betray yourself when you accept less than you know you deserve, because you are afraid of being alone. And you betray yourself when you allow someone else's opinion to determine your value. Think about that. You may spend years worrying about whether other people are loyal while ignoring the promises you have made to yourself. You promised yourself you would become stronger. You promised yourself you would focus on your goals. You promised yourself you would stop chasing people who do not choose you. You promised yourself you would protect your peace. But then someone gives you a little attention, and you forget everything. This is where emotional discipline becomes essential. You cannot build a powerful life if your decisions change every time someone gives you attention or takes it away. Your direction must be stronger than your emotions. People will come and go. Some will stay for years. Some will disappear without explanation. Some will disappoint you. Some will surprise you. Or some will become closer than you ever expected. Others will become strangers. You cannot control this. But you can control what you do with the experience. Do not allow betrayal to turn you into a bitter person. That is giving the person who hurt you even more power. They hurt you once. Do not allow them to continue controlling your personality years later. Learn the lesson, adjust your boundaries, then move forward. This is what separates emotional strength from emotional weakness. Weakness says, because one person betrayed me, nobody can be trusted. Strength says, that person betrayed my trust, and now I understand what I need to look for in the future. Weakness says, everyone is fake. Strength says, I will observe before I trust. Weakness says, I will never care again. Strength says, I will care, but I will also protect myself. You do not need to become cold. You need to become clear. Clarity is one of the greatest forms of protection. When you know your values, you know what you will tolerate. When you know your goals, you know what distractions to reject. When you know your worth, you stop begging for basic respect. And when you understand human behavior, you stop being shocked every time someone acts according to their own interests. This does not make you cynical, it makes you realistic. People have different priorities, different fears, different ambitions, different definitions of friendship, different levels of emotional maturity. You cannot force everyone to value the same things you value, and you should stop trying. If loyalty is important to you, look for people who demonstrate loyalty. If honesty is important to you, look for people whose actions match their words. If growth is important to you, surround yourself with people who are not threatened by your progress. If peace is important to you, stop giving unlimited access to people who constantly create chaos. Your environment matters. The people around you influence your standards, your mindset, your habits, and eventually your future. This is why choosing your circle is not about popularity. It is about direction. Ask yourself, do these people make me stronger or weaker? Do they encourage growth or encourage excuses? Do they challenge me honestly or simply tell me what I want to hear? Do I feel peaceful around them or am I constantly trying to prove myself? Can I be myself without fear? Can I say no without being punished? Can I succeed without making them jealous? Can I fail without being humiliated? These questions can reveal more about your friendships than hundreds of conversations. And if you discover that some relationships are unhealthy, do not panic. You do not need to cut everyone off overnight. Start by changing your level of access. Not everyone needs to know everything about you. Not everyone needs your constant availability. Not everyone needs to know your plans. Not everyone needs access to your private struggles. You can be friendly without being completely open. You can be respectful without being emotionally dependent. You can care without constantly sacrificing yourself. This is the balance. And as you develop it, something interesting happens. You become less afraid of losing people, not because you no longer care, but because you understand that losing the wrong person is not the same as losing yourself. That distinction can change your entire life. You will stop chasing people who are already walking away. You will stop begging for explanations from people who have already shown you their priorities. You will stop trying to make someone understand your value, and instead you will focus on becoming the person you want to be. That is where your energy belongs. Not in endless analysis of who viewed your message, not in wondering why someone did not respond, not in checking whether someone still cares, not in trying to decode every small behavior. Your mind is too valuable for that. There is a world waiting for your attention. Your goals need your attention. Your skills need your attention. Your health needs your attention. Your future needs your attention. Do not spend your entire life studying people who are not studying you. Build yourself and let people reveal themselves naturally. You do not need to force the truth. Time exposes patterns. Distance exposes priorities. Success exposes jealousy. Failure exposes loyalty. Boundaries expose respect. And silence often exposes who actually values your presence. So stop chasing answers. Watch the evidence. If someone consistently shows up, appreciate them. If someone consistently disappears, accept the information. If someone consistently respects you, value that relationship. If someone consistently disrespects you, create distance. No revenge, no unnecessary drama, no endless arguments, just boundaries. That is emotional strength. And perhaps the most important lesson of all is this. Your goal should not be to find people who will never leave. That is impossible. Your goal should be to become someone who remains strong even when people leave. Because when you are secure within yourself, friendship becomes something you enjoy rather than something you desperately need. You can love people without owning them. You can trust people without depending on them. You can appreciate people without losing yourself. And you can walk away from relationships that no longer serve your values without believing that your life is over. That is freedom. That is maturity. And that is how you stop expecting loyalty from everyone and start building a life based on something much stronger. Self-respect. There is one final lesson you need to understand. Stop trying to make everyone your friend. Stop trying to make everyone loyal. Stop trying to make everyone understand you. And most importantly, stop measuring your value by the number of people who choose to stay. Your life is not a popularity contest. Your worth is not determined by who texts you first. It is not determined by who invites you. It is not determined by who praises you. And it is certainly not determined by who decides to leave. People will come into your life for different reasons. Some will stay, some will leave, some will teach you, some will challenge you, some will support you, and some will reveal lessons you never wanted to learn. Do not waste your life trying to make every relationship permanent. Instead, learn to appreciate people for what they genuinely bring into your life while they are there. If someone gives you loyalty, value it. If someone gives you honesty, respect it. If someone supports your growth, never take that person for granted. But if someone repeatedly shows you that they do not value your presence, do not spend your life begging them to change. Believe their actions, accept the reality, and move forward. The strongest response to rejection is not revenge. It is growth. The strongest response to betrayal is not hatred, it is wisdom. The strongest response to being ignored is not desperation, it is self-respect. And the strongest response to losing someone is not losing yourself. This is where the real transformation begins. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And you start asking, what can I learn from this? You stop asking, how can I make them come back? And you start asking, why am I willing to chase someone who does not choose me? You stop asking, how can I make them understand my value? And you start asking, why do I need their approval to know my value? Those questions are powerful because they return control to you. You cannot control who stays. You cannot control who leaves. You cannot control who betrays you. You cannot control who misunderstands you. But you can control your response. You can control your standards. You can control your boundaries. You can control where you invest your time. And you can control the kind of person you become after every experience. That is the ultimate lesson. Do not let someone else's lack of loyalty destroy your ability to be loyal to yourself. Do not let someone else's dishonesty turn you into a dishonest person. Do not let someone else's selfishness make you abandon your generosity. And do not let someone else's betrayal convince you that genuine friendship does not exist. It does. But genuine friendship is not something you force. It is something you recognize. You recognize it through consistency, through honesty, through respect, through mutual effort, through the ability to celebrate each other's success, through the ability to communicate during difficult moments, through the ability to disagree with.